So, get this. It's October 17th, 2025. The air is crisp, Halloween is coming, and President Donald Trump just played a real-life game of Monopoly. He handed a get-out-of-jail-free card to none other than George Santos. Yes, George Santos, the former congressman who'd been in prison for less time than it takes to binge-watch a season of. After just under 3 months of a 7-year sentence, Santos walked out of the federal correctional institution in Fairton, New Jersey. This wasn't a quiet release, it was a full-blown presidential commutation, ordered by Trump himself. The news broke like a thunderclap of absurdity. For a moment, everyone had to check if The Onion had hacked the White House press feed. But no, this was real life. Funnier and far more terrifying. The timing? Classic political theater. A late Friday night news dump, as if you could hide an elephant in a phone booth. Santos, a living caricature of political dishonesty, was suddenly back among us, his 7-year debt to society apparently paid in full after about 90 days. It's a stunning turn of events that leaves you asking, how? This wasn't just about one man's freedom. It was a statement, a neon sign about power, loyalty, and the nature of justice in America. The release of George Santos isn't just a footnote, it's a whole chapter. And it forces us to look at the scales of justice and wonder whose thumb is pressing down. To understand the audacity of this commutation, you have to remember who George Santos is, or rather, who he isn't. He got elected to Congress on a life story that was almost entirely fabricated. Jobs he never had, degrees he never earned, even a mother's 9/11 survival that never happened. His real biography? Basically just his name and date of birth. And even that's up for debate. His downfall began with a bombshell New York Times report in December 2022, unraveling his tapestry of lies. But the lies were just the appetizer. The main course was crime. In April 2025, he pleaded guilty to 23 federal felonies: wire fraud, money laundering, identity theft, and making false statements. This wasn't fudging expense reports. This was a symphony of fraud. He used campaign funds for personal luxuries, Botox, OnlyFans subscriptions, you name it. He even stole the identities of 11 people, including family members. When Santos was sentenced to 87 months in federal prison, it felt like accountability. Finally, the system working. A man who lied and cheated his way into power was facing consequences. His prison sentence was supposed to be the final act, a message that no one is above the law. It was the end of the story, or so we thought, because in this story there's always a sequel. Before he was a federal inmate, George Santos was honorable, a title never stretched so thin. Elected in 2022, he flipped a blue seat red, but his time in Congress was more about dodging reporters than legislating. He became a pariah, a source of embarrassment his colleagues tried to ignore. In December 2023, the House expelled him, only the 6th member in U.S. history to get the boot. The vote was bipartisan, fueled by a damning ethics report. He went from making laws to being a cautionary tale. After his guilty plea in April 2025, reality caught up. At sentencing, he cried and begged for forgiveness, but the judge handed down 7 years. By late July, Santos was officially a federal prisoner. Life inside wasn't great, by his own account. Days before his release, he published an open letter in a Long Island paper, pleading directly to Trump for mercy. He painted himself as broken, seeking a second chance. And as we now know, that appeal did not fall on deaf ears. So why would Trump stick his neck out for Santos, a man so toxic his own party expelled him? Trump explained it himself. Santos was horribly mistreated. The focus wasn't on the crimes or the victims, but on the supposed injustice of the punishment. The real reason? Loyalty. Trump praised Santos for always voting Republican. Forget the fraud. He voted the right way. In Trump's world, loyalty trumps all other transgressions. By commuting Santos's sentence, Trump sent a message: stay loyal and I'll have your back. It's less about law and order, more about loyalty and favors. The final line of Trump's post: good luck, George, have a great life. As if this were just a personal favor. It frames the episode as a reward for a friend, not a matter of justice. This is how Trump wields presidential power, as a tool for his followers. To justify freeing Santos, Trump didn't just argue the sentence was too long. He pivoted to his favorite move, whataboutism. He compared Santos's 23 felonies to Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal's misleading statements about military service. Blumenthal did misstate his Vietnam service, later apologizing. But to compare that to a multi-year crime spree is a stretch. It's like comparing jaywalking to a bank heist. This is classic Trump. When an ally's in trouble, deflect by pointing at a Democrat. The goal isn't a nuanced discussion about justice. It's to muddy the waters and convince supporters that everyone does it. It's a way of saying, yes, my guy's a crook, but your guy's a liar, so it all cancels out. By bringing up Blumenthal, Trump reframes the issue as Republicans versus Democrats. He's not just commuting a sentence, he's scoring a point against the other team. This tactic energizes his base, turning a discussion about the rule of law into another partisan battle. In this show, loyalty is the only currency that counts, and justice becomes just another episode in the endless political reality show. The Santos move isn't a one-off, it's part of a pattern. Since returning to the White House, Trump has used his pardon and commutation powers to benefit political allies. It's like a frequent flyer program for politically connected felons. Commit a crime, stay loyal, and you might get a presidential pardon. In May, Trump pardoned Michael Grimm, a former congressman convicted of tax fraud. He also pardoned John Rowland, a former governor convicted of corruption. These aren't cases of wrongful conviction. They're high-profile figures found guilty of betraying public trust. The message: if you're part of the club, redemption comes by presidential decree. It's a powerful tool for rewarding friends and allies. This isn't new. Trump did it in his first term with Roger Stone and Michael Flynn. The power of clemency, meant for mercy and correcting injustice, is now a political weapon. Each time it's used this way, it chips away at the idea that justice is blind, and it blurs the line between justice and political patronage. Let's get into the weeds. Trump gave Santos a commutation, not a pardon. A commutation reduces your sentence. You're still a felon, but you don't serve the rest of your time. You're free, but not innocent. A pardon, on the other hand, wipes the conviction off your record, restoring your rights as if nothing happened. That's what Michael Grimm and John Rowland got. Santos is still a convicted felon, he just doesn't have to sit in a cell. Why not a full pardon? Maybe even Trump thought that was a bridge too far. A commutation gets Santos out of prison while maintaining a thin veneer of accountability. For most people, the distinction is academic. The bottom line: a man sentenced to 7 years for breathtaking crimes is free after less than 3 months. Whether it's a pardon or commutation, the result is the same. A politically connected individual bypasses consequences. The message isn't about legal nuance, it's about who has access to power, and in this case, loyalty was the key. The reaction to Santos's release? Explosive and deeply divided. On one side, cheers. Santos's lawyer called it a correction of a great injustice. For them, this was vindication. Santos himself, reportedly in tears at sentencing, got his second chance, not from the legal system but from a political benefactor. His open letter worked, he hit the jackpot. For Santos and his supporters, it's a story of redemption. But for many others, the reaction was outrage. Critics, including some Republicans, called it a gross abuse of power. A slap in the face to the rule of law and to Santos's victims. For them, this wasn't justice, it was a mockery. The jeers were loud, from cable news to social media. This stark division is a snapshot of the nation. No shared consensus on accountability or justice. Every event is filtered through a partisan lens. The release of George Santos didn't create this divide, but it poured gasoline on the fire. Ultimately, the story of George Santos's 3-month prison sentence is about more than one man. When people see a politician lie, cheat, get convicted, and then get let out early by a powerful ally, it corrodes faith in the system. It makes government and law feel like a rigged game. This cynicism is a dangerous acid that eats away at democracy. If you committed these crimes, you'd serve your time. You wouldn't have a direct line to the president. When people see this double standard, they start to believe the rules don't apply equally. Once that belief takes hold, it's hard to restore confidence in our institutions. This commutation normalizes the idea that presidential power is a perk, not a responsibility. It turns justice into a commodity traded for loyalty. And as Santos enjoys his freedom, the rest of us are left to grapple with the fallout. A weaker, less trustworthy, more divided nation.